For those of you that did not get an agenda, you can go scan the QR code in the back and be able to see it on your phone. I want to make sure it was, didn't seem very loud, did it? Do I? Mr. Clark, is there any way you can turn up the volume?
Trying to see if this one's working. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but not me.
Test,
Which is okay.
test.
Testing, testing. Mr. Clark? Mr. Clark? Hello? Testing? Oh, okay. Chief Ramsey, would you mind checking this microphone right here, please? The one that's at the podium? Testing, testing.
Check one, check two, check 1, 2, 3. 1, 2,
Okay.
3, 4.
Testing. Am I working?
Nope. Do it again. Would you please?
Check.
Last time, I don't know.
Test.
Whatever James is.
I mean, I have a loud mouth. I could probably.
Sister. Sorry for
Did you
those.
say amen, sister? Yes, yes. Hello? Oh, yeah, absolutely. James is working on it right now.
Yeah. You got it, James.
Testing. Mr. Burris, would you test yours?
Sure.
Check 1, 2, 1, 2.
Thank you. Would everybody mind testing?
Test.
Testing.
Testing.
Hello. I apologize for the delay. We're going to start the City Council July 18th, 2023 agenda. I would like to call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mike,
Here.
Tim,
Here.
Larry,
Here.
Amber.
Here.
Here she is. Missy, here.
Please stand for the pledge. Approval of the agenda, please. I need a motion.
Motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
I'll second that. Oh, Misty got beat me.
Roll call.
Daniel,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Misty. Yes. Mike,
Yes.
Amber.
Yes,
Approval of the June 20th, 2023 City Council minutes, please.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Roll call.
Mike,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Amber,
Yes,
Daniel,
Yes.
Misty.
Yes. Okay, we'll go to our financial report. Ms. Artemani, would you mind?
Okay, this is for June 2023. For the city general, the income was $357,439.03. Expenses was $358,840.25 with a negative operating income of $1,401.22. And what some of those expenses were was some computer and software for the new engineer and the car lease for the police and replacement vests for the police. Water and sewer income was $479,310.33. Expenses was $390,485.81 with a positive operating income of $88,824.52. And some of those large expenses was the new truck, the 450 with the plow, some materials and supplies, and some easements that were purchased. And streets income was $53,823.95. Expenses was $13,000. 856.59 with a positive income of 39,967.36.
All
And
right,
that's all I got.
thank you. We'll move on to our department reports. Museum.
All right, the museum board met on July 10th and we discussed several topics, including our new exhibits that we have rolling around. We have changed the Queen exhibit out a little bit. So if everyone, when they are leaving, please go to your left and check out the new exhibit. We also have some changes to the entryway. When you're coming in, you'll see a pop of Great Festival color. We also have a new dress on display and our new pasta making exhibit. We're also making some new changes to the museum in preparation for the Great Festival. So please stop by. If you are out and about on the Great Festival, we will be open. The historic house hunt has been going on now for a bit over a month. And so far we've had over 25 people participate in this. So we've seen a significant uptick in our visitors so far in partnership with the Javello Museum on the historic house hunt. Wednesdays, we are open 9 to 1 now. So we have actually seen an uptick on visitors as well during the week. And we do have 2 new board members that are here tonight. Olivia and Megan McAfee and Olivia Ward are super happy to join our board, and we're hoping that they will get appointed tonight. And in preparation for the Great Festival, like I said, we've got new exhibits. We also will be open more hours for one extra day. It'll be Wednesday 9 to 1, Thursday 4 to 7, Friday 1 to 7, and then Saturday 10 to 7. And we're super excited. We have volunteers and lots of people willing to help out. And our next meeting will be held off until September, as we don't meet during the month of August.
Thank you. Is your hours posted online?
Yes, so we do need to update the website because we've had some confusion on when Wednesday is open. I've had some people come at 1:30 and I just let them in if I'm there, but we do need to work on the website hours. It's posted on our marquee, and then anytime that we post on Facebook, we do include our hours.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
We'll next go to police, Chief Jensen.
The month of June, we responded to 811 calls for service, filed 24 accident reports, served 67 warrants, leaving us a little over 1,100 outstanding. Warrant amounts are 1.5. Training hours are up to 1,104. Citation totals are 234, 13 for speed, 143 for other traffic violations, 31 for criminal, 47 for improper driving or city ordinance, 430 total warnings, 142 for speed, 288 for other traffic warnings. We partnered with fire department that hosted a training that we sent 6 officers to become instructors in what is called Stop the Bleed training. I think Mark can probably elaborate a little bit more on that in his. But we appreciate them hosting that and allowing us to attend it. Tomorrow, the Durangos, the lease that we did to purchase the Durangos, we've made one payment for this year, but they are complete. We are going to pick them up tomorrow and finish installing some cameras and a couple other things in them. So we should be seeing them out shortly. Any questions?
You've got a quick question. Looks like on your report, you had 125 tickets for speeding over 15 or in between 0 to 15. Where are you seeing a lot of that volume increase? Is it all over? Or?
Yes, it's all over. We try to hit target areas if there's complaints made. It varies.
Just over full city.
Yes.
Okay.
So the Great Festival's in a couple of weeks and you guys patrol that very well, but is any advice you want to give everybody online to help with that traffic during the crazy time of the Great Festival?
Sure. We will, when we get a little bit closer to probably next week post where we're doing some road closures. It'll be the same as the last few years. Barrington will become a one-way. We'll detour traffic around. Other than that, it's going to be about the same for us. So we'll push out a few things on our Facebook and share on the city website. So stay tuned for that.
Will it also go through the new text? I signed up on the text thread, and today I got the notification that tonight's meeting, would that be another avenue that'll
Absolutely.
be?
We can push
so
it out on that as
citizens
well.
go-
All right, thank you, Chief Jennison.
Thank you.
Next, we'll move on to fire. Chief Ramsey.
Good evening, Tontitown City Council and citizens. I'd like to start in reverse order on my report this evening. I want to acknowledge some new recruits that we have. Before I do, I'd like to call up Stephen Sporer, firefighter Sporer, and firefighter Bowen to stand in front of the recorder treasurer. We have two cadets that are graduating from the cadet status to firemen today. They're going to be presented their helmets, their t-shirts, and a certificate we've given for them. They've completed 240 hours of rigorous training from Camden. Congratulations, guys. Camden's rough, but you guys did it. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Landon Octay and Colton Cooley. If you guys would stand in between firefighter Sporer and Bowen. Miss Rhonda Dowden, if you don't mind, I'd love it if you'd take some pictures for me. Thank you. Thank you. All right, firefighter Bowen's going to issue you your certificates, while firefighter Sporer is going to give you your helmets and your shirts. These two cadets, now firemen, firefighter Octay and Cooley, have started working part-time shifts for us. So we put them on the truck right away. They've done a phenomenal job, and I look forward to working with these guys in the future. You guys don't mind post, Brody, you can smile. It's okay, bud.
And I will take several so I can get. You can cut some. Okay, it's for real. It's done.
All right, I just want to say thank you to the family for letting us borrow these two young men for such a long time. And thank you for Stephen, Brody, Cody Tucker, Ryan Krug, everybody that was here that had a hand in their training and will continue to have a hand in their training. And without further ado, if everybody would, please help me with a round of applause. Welcome these two new firemen. All right, gentlemen and family, if you'd like, you are dismissed. Festivities will continue at the fire station. I believe Miss Dowden will be taking some pictures of everybody outside.
Would you announce your names again one more time, please?
That would be Landon Octay and Colton Cooley. Continuing the report, on top of their 240 hours apiece, our fire department put forth a total of 910 training hours. It was a busy month, and this next month is going to be equally busy as well. We've added on 3 new recruits at this time through the cadet program. As Chief Jennison mentioned, we did host a Stop the Bleed course. He had 7 police officers that went through that. We had 5 that went through that course. Not only are they trained in Stop the Bleed as we've been trained before, but now they're instructors, so they can teach their crew proper techniques, stopping the bleed, tourniquets, and mass casualty incidents. Hopefully that Tontitown never have to face, but we're ready for it. Total calls for the month of June, we totaled 49. 29 of those were EMS calls, 5 fires, 5 MVAs, 5 false alarms, and 5 service calls. 4 of these calls were mutual aid. June 2023, we've hit 287 calls of service. Last year at this time, we were at 234 calls of service. Our response time is 1 minute and 6 seconds. On scene arrival time, 3 minutes and 45 seconds. We're still within that NFPA standard and wheelhouse for our response time. And that's good. We'll say that majority of our calls, we're seeing an uptick in EMS calls on the west side of town, especially in the Hickory Meadows area. As more of those houses become populated, call volume goes up, accidents happen, people need us. That is slowly setting a difference in our response time, not without of our limits of what we can make per NFPA standards. For the month of June, we also completed all of our hose testing. We had over 9,000 feet of hose that was tested, supposed to be tested on an annual basis. We had 700 feet that failed this year, but rest assured, all of our trucks have the required hose lengths on it that we're required to have. Any questions?
Council, do you have any questions?
Yes, I do.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
The hoses that did fail, I guess those were reserve hoses.
Yes, most of those were, as I stated in the report, 15 to 50 years old. That was in reserve status. We had it on our reserve engine. We'd taken it off so that we could get it tested. But our newer hose is on the newer trucks and our first out engines.
So are we going to,
Replace it?
yes, get rid of those and replace them?
I tell you, it's already been done.
Okay,
It's already been taken care of and it's been budgeted
awesome.
and it's already on order. So
All right.
we
and then-
kind of figured that we might run into this, especially given the age of the hose, but we're staying on top of it.
As far as your response time to the events that are happening, in Hickory Creek,
Meadows.
Hickory Meadows.
Mhm.
You said that was regulated by FPA
NFPA.
and
FPA sets the standards for fire agencies, their
Okay.
response times, how many engines, how many personnel.
And as we stand, the route to get to Hickory Meadows, you're within that response time.
Currently, we are, and I'd have to go back and look and see if there was any of those calls that we were beyond 5 minutes. I feel like there might have been one or two that we were over that 5 minute mark. Just thinking about it, part of that's going to be a testament to traffic. I mean,
Yeah. Unless we get you like a helicopter to
that's
get
it.
over there even quicker.
Police department, they
Yeah.
get there faster than we do. Our 0 to 60 is not Fast and the Furious, I'll tell
Yeah.
you that. Our trucks are too big. One other thing I forgot to mention, we hosted Inspector One. We hosted the Inspector One Arkansas Fire Academy course here. That's an 80-hour course that we held in the chambers. I believe we had 5 people that went through that course. So now we got some extra help under our belt when we go out and we do inspections. ISO requires that we have an Inspector One present for every inspection that we hold within the city.
Right.
Any
Thank
other
you.
questions?
Yes, are
Yes.
you seeing an increase in the heat exhaustion on your EMS? Is that,
It just
Is that what
started this
you do?
month.
okay,
So we actually ordered 100 cold packs. And the day that we ordered them, got them in, we started having heat emergencies.
Yeah.
So that was a pretty quick, before we could even put them on the med bags, we just grabbed the whole box and just went. So I did include some photos for you from some events that we held in June. Just some water events for the Ozark Catholic Academy and a little bit of the host testing, a little bit of the training. And this was the parade at the rodeo at the Ozarks, and everybody ate Marshall up. They love Marshall and Paw Patrol, all things Paw Patrol. This was the group that got to go through the Inspector One course. They got to tour the school and the new fire station as they hone in on their skills for inspector principles.
One more question.
Yes, sir.
The fire station, we're on course with that. No deviations from the schedule.
We're doing very well,
Awesome.
very
Looks
well.
good. Looks good.
Thank you, Chief Ramsey.
Thank you.
All right, next we'll go on to the Public Works. Mr. Clark.
Starting off with the Streets and Parks Department, we're expecting a delivery of rubber mulch. This is next week. Of course, I wrote this last week. The mulch will actually be here in the morning, around 8 o'clock, and there's the large play area. If you've been in the park, you notice that this area is thin on mulch, and some of the underlayment is coming up through the mulch. So we're going to cover all that up and make a little safer place to play. After many complaints, we're going to overlay a small portion of South Barrington Road. The south end of the S curve, if everyone knows where the S curve is. This curve was milled a few years ago try to improve traction on the road. We'd had several accidents there under wet conditions. Although the milling helped, one of the residents has complained ever since then about excessive noise and vibration. Even stated that some of the walls, the plaster in his home is cracking. So we're going to go ahead and overlay, I think it's about 350 feet, and see if that improves his situation there while still maintaining some safety through that curve. In the Water and Sewer Department, Wednesday, July 12th, we opened bids on South Penalto Sewer. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. And then Friday, we opened bids on the Clint Sewer project. To remind you again, the funds for these two sewer projects will be paid for with the 2022 sewer construction bond, of which there is currently about 2.9 million. And after opening bids, we know now that it's going to cost us about 2.2 to do these two projects. So we may have a little bit left over that we can apply to another project. Mayor, City Council, or Mayor, City Attorney, and Mr. Penalto and I visited today with a representative of Raymond James to talk about some funding opportunities for some of our 10-year projects. It looks like anything we do to get extra money, we're going to have to go to a vote, to the city vote on that. So we're going to try to get something put together for you. I've asked the lady with Raymond James to be here at the next council meeting. We may also have a representative from Stevens to visit with us about what our opportunities are or possibilities.
Excuse me, Mr. Clark, it was the COW, wasn't it?
What's that?
She'll be coming to the COW, or is she going to come to the council?
COW.
Okay.
I think I just said the next meeting, which will be COW,
Yes.
not the next council meeting. We got that clear. And then as discussed at the COW meeting, I will be presenting at the next COW meeting the addition of impact fees for water and sewer. I know we've had a lot of discussion about that, or had a lot at the last meeting, but from what I gathered from the council, we want to look at a 15% of the maximum amount allowed. So Justin's putting that into a resolution or ordinance for us.
Resolution to ordinance to have adopted fees and regulations. So it's two items.
Okay. This goes on to say that what those amounts will be based on that 15%. And then the final thing on the report, contractor working on 412 water lines, making decent progress at this time. The most important timeline at this point is to be cleared up and off the church property at least a week before the Grape Festival. I think they're going to make that. Any questions on the report? To the
Couple of things.
yes.
I'll start at the bottom and go up. The second to last paragraph there, I don't recall at all that 15% being the maximum amount that we were leaning toward. I'd certainly entertain the thought and look forward to hearing that, but I don't remember that being at 15. That's lower than I recall.
Yeah.
Moving up the list to the second paragraph, by the way, awesome job on the mulch. Down where that portion of Barrington is, that's down by my house. And although we haven't had those concerns, those problems, we are close enough that I've got two neighbors that are right down on the road that complain about it all the time. One of them you hear from a lot. One of them you don't hear from, but I do. And I understand the milling. I understand the noise. And when I'm outside, I can really hear that noise. I can really hear it. I can feel the vibrations and the shaking. One of those houses probably helps shield me a little bit from that. And I appreciate that we're going to do something to try to fix that. But one of the major issues in that area that's causing the noise is the speed at which people come through that area. And I would certainly like to consider or have us consider putting in some speed bumps in that area. I know they're not fun. I know they're not likable, but that would certainly slow some of the people, and especially in the mornings, these big trucks that I didn't know were supposed to come down that area are flying through that area. There's been an accident in that area. There've been a few accidents in the area, actually. But part of the reason why we milled that road in the first place was because people were flying off the road and into the yards of some of the people who live in that area.
Right.
And that certainly creates some safety issues with the people who live there. Is there any thought at all about doing anything other than the resurface, speed bumps or anything else?
We haven't thought of doing speed bumps on a street that has that high of a speed limit. And it's, I believe, 35, if I'm correct.
Well, it switches a few times, I believe, in that area that, yes, indeed, it is 35. Nobody follows that speed limit, but that's a whole nother.
True.
That's not entirely true. My wife makes sure that I do. And my children who drive also do.
Right. Like I say, that's pretty high speed for a speed bump. Normally, we want to put those in areas where the speed limit is 15 to 20. I think it could cause some issues in that area because people are not going to slow down. Some people, they'll hit the speed bumps like, 40 or 50 miles an hour, like they're driving through there now. But we can talk about that. I don't know of any other good way to slow them down.
Well, maybe, I don't know, but maybe more signs, maybe flashing signs, the little smiley face, you're doing a good job, that sort of, I know all those things cost money, but we really are talking about the safety of citizens in that area. We've had at least 3 accidents in that area. One car flipped down in that area. It really is something that in that particular area, we're finding that there are some major concerns. Again, those things don't happen to affect me, even though I live right by it, but they certainly could.
Right. Well, hopefully this will take care of the vibration and noise issue, because it was on that south part coming out of that turn.
Right.
It was kind of rippled.
Oh, very much so, yeah.
When they milled it, it seemed like the milling machine may have jumped a little bit.
Yeah.
So it was definitely worse on that
Right.
end.
There's also a guardrail in that area from an accident that was never repaired. So that guardrail is not fully attached to the ground
Oh, okay.
down there. So that's probably something else that needs to be looked at.
We'll take care of that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any
All right.
other questions?
All right, then,
Thank you,
thank
James.
you.
I do have one, if I could keep you, the bond money that we have that we're gonna have a little bit left over. When do we lose that? What's our time frame on that?
That would be the end of 2024.
Okay. So do we feel like we can utilize that before then?
I would hate to think we could utilize all of it.
Okay.
I would like to wait until we get these other 2 projects
Right.
close to being finished before we decide to spend money that we may or may not have.
I just don't want to lose it, you know what I mean?
Right. Oh, no, definitely don't want to lose it. And the reason I say that is the South Penalto sewer has a lot of rock.
Yeah.
And
Run into some issues.
that could drive that cost up a little bit.
Sure.
So the other thing is the building activity report. If that's okay, I'll just
I was
say.
getting ready to say that. You go
I'll
right
just
ahead,
say, I'll just say one thing about that. The commercial valuation is, it's down a little bit, but the residential is up. $18 million in valuation, a little over $90,000 in building fees, and 41 permits for new homes. And that's all I got.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Clark. Next, we'll move on to our planning. Mr. Latham.
Planning Commission that'll meet next Tuesday, have the following that they'll be doing. We have 3 large-scale developments. The first one's Joe Bumper Collision. The applicant's requesting approval, large-scale development at 170 Industrial Circle. That's on the corner there of Tonti Boulevard to construct 8,700 square foot building for collision repair and detail shop. CPS of Northwest Arkansas, the applicant's requesting approval of large-scale development at 366 Henri Boulevard to construct a residential / office building. That's right next to the Little Debbie area over here. Pam Transport, the applicants received approval for a large-scale development at 294 and 296 West Bandini Avenue. They are going to actually start a truck driving school there. And that'll include a 6,800 square foot building. And then finally, McAllister rezone, they're rezoning some property from agriculture to R1. This property's out off of Kissinger. It's a larger lot that they're splitting an acre off, so this will be coming to the planning commission. Anybody have any questions?
All right, thank you, Mr.
Okay, thank
Latham.
you.
All right, now I'm going to ask comments from citizens for anything that is not on tonight's agenda. So if anyone has any comments that's not on the agenda, you may come forward. Anyone online?
No, ma'am.
All right. Oh, hang on just one moment.
I've
Here
got
comes Miss
one.
Nina.
And this is more like a question comment. This S corner that we were talking about a minute ago with Mr. James, Nina Brown, 1851 South Pinalto, sorry. We spent the money to have it milled. And I know it's causing some problems with some neighbors. I understand that. But now we're thinking about spending the money. Well, I travel that quite often. And there's a big tile that goes under there, and that would freeze sometimes. Those surfaces would freeze, and that caused some of the accidents. So I'm thinking, if we resurface that, are we nullifying what we did just in the beginning to mill it to make it safer? Maybe we need to think this over a little bit, the flashing lights, signage.
So if I may,
Mhm.
so we're not doing the whole area. It's just the part in front of the gentleman's house. The curbs are still going to have the milling.
Okay, okay. Thank you for making that clear.
Yes,
Thank you.
ma'am. Okay, approval by city council members to waive the 3 reading rule on ordinances on the agenda.
I'll make a motion to waive the 3 reading rule.
Do I have a second?
I will second.
Roll call, please.
Daniel,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Misty,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Amber.
Yes.
Thank you. Hope she's not leaving, sorry. We'll go on to number 10, old business. Approval of an ordinance to accept the final plats for January through May 2023. Justin, would you mind?
Yes, Mayor, I read this title at the last meeting and we tabled it. So it does not require an additional reading. So you
Okay,
go ahead and accept the motion on it.
okay. Do we have any comments from the citizens concerning this? Any comments from council?
We had some concerns last month because some of these were not correct, including that we had the
Yes.
address of one of our council members.
Yes.
Have we checked that? Have we double checked that to make sure that those are correct?
I've checked it now and it's now correct.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not listed as one of the
Alright.
adjustments.
Okay, could I get a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve. Second.
Thank you. Roll call.
Mike,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Amber,
Yes.
Daniel,
Yes.
Misty.
Yes.
Thank you. We'll move on to new business. Appointment of Olivia Ward to the Tontitown Historical Museum Board, and Emily just stepped out. And I'm not sure exactly where to go from here.
I don't believe she needs to be,
She doesn't need to be
shouldn't have
here.
to be present now.
Well, Miss President of the museum, would you mind going down there and, thank you,
Speech,
Miss.
Speech.
Miss Piazza is the president of the museum board, so I'm going to give her the honor to, for these two young ladies to be appointed to the board.
Mayor Angie, I would like to present you with Olivia Ward. Hey.
Hello.
You want to tell us about yourself?
I work at the Children's Museum in Bentonville at the Amazeum and want to get into more historical museums. My family has Italian immigrant background, so I think this would be a really cool place to start. So I'm going to be taking on the secretary position.
That is awesome. All
She's
right.
gonna be replacing Ethan, who got a job in Washington at a hands-on museum up in Washington. So he's doing his first week there. And so he recruited her for us, and we're very thankful for Ethan for that.
All right. Do I have any comments from the citizen?
Together. Well, they can just, no. You gotta hop in there now.
Any comments from Alderman? Okay, do I have a motion to accept Miss Olivia to the museum board?
I'll make a motion to accept Olivia into the museum board.
I'll second that.
Roll call, please.
Daniel,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Misty,
Stain.
Mike, Amber.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you.
Congratulations,
Con-
Olivia.
Congratulations, Olivia. Thank you for stepping up, and it is an honor to have you on the board. Okay. Ms.
Next,
Piazza.
I would like to present Megan McAfee to the board.
Hi, I'm Megan McAfee. I'm from Springdale. Both my parents are Tontitown natives. I've lived in Springdale most of my life. I lived in Virginia for 13 years, moved back in 2020. I have 4 daughters, and I'm going to be taking over the treasurer position.
Fantastic. Thank you. Do I have any comments from the citizens? Alderman? Okay, I'd like to make a motion to accept Ms. Megan on the museum board.
I'll make that motion before Amber jumps in front of me.
Amber, did you want a second?
I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Mike,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Amber,
Whoops, yes, yes.
Daniel,
Yes.
Misty.
Abstain.
All right, congratulations, both of you ladies. Congratulations. Ms. Piazza, I believe, Ms. Dowdno would like to get a picture with you and the girls.
That's okay. We'll get you later.
Okay, all right. Let's move on to C, approval of an ordinance to rezoning approximately 37.53 acres on property located on 523 South Barrington. Justin, would you mind reading the title, please?
City of Tontitown, Washington County, Arkansas, an ordinance rezoning approximately 37.53 acres of property located at 523 South Barrington Road from a mix of general commercial C2 and single family residential R3 to a mix of general commercial C2 and single family residential R4 in the city of Tontitown, Arkansas.
Thank you. Do I have any comments from citizens? Yes, sir.
Gotta be careful when I get up there because I know that thing starts. Here we go.
We'll watch it.
Thanks, Dennis Boyer, 1969 Dell Road. I'm opposed to the rezoning resolution for many reasons, but I'll keep it short because I have 3 minutes. I ask you to take a really very careful look at the resolution itself. Some kind of difficult language there. It says, whereas after a thorough review, Tontitown Council has determined that this will be in the public interest and welfare of the citizens. Okay. However, none of the documents provided in this meeting supports that public claim that there has either been a thorough review or a factual finding that this is in the public interest. Information for this meeting is completely devoid on those matters. even though the claim is made. The planning department's own report does not even mention how this rezoning best serves the welfare and interest of the city. No city document presented at this meeting supports the conclusion that the rezoning best serves the welfare and interest of the city. Now, regarding the planning department's recommendation, which is, in my opinion, clearly one-sided, I have been told that this report is just a routine checkbox mandate that has no real meaning relative to the city council's decision tonight. If that is so, I would like to hear that disclaimer straight from the city council itself, because this report sounds like anything but a pro forma checklist requirement. Number one, while it confirms that emails opposing the project were submitted, these objectives were not listed in it. Why are the planning commission's objections, who rejected this, not listed and addressed? Surely they had valuable insights about public welfare and interest. The planning department lists no zero downsides. No project has zero downsides. That seems biased. The planning department report justifies this R4 of zoning by stating that, unbelievably, the R4 is justified because there are R3s next to it. That just blows my mind. So you have an R4 because there's an R3, because there's an R3. All right, if you take that one out to the extension, you should be able to have R2s where there's R1s, R3s where there's R2s, R5s where there's R4s. I mean, the thing is endless. It's just what they call a non sequitur. Doesn't make any sense at all. Completely illogical. Does this set a dangerous precedent where developers will come along and say, hey, you know, I realize there's no adjacent zoning similar to what I have, but didn't matter before, so why not for me? Does this now mean that R2s are allowed because they are nearby to R1s, R3s are okay? Yeah, because they border R2s and R5s are fine because they border R4s. These are really serious concerns, and you know, making this blanket statement about it supports the public interest, but not having findings to prove that is troublesome to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Boyer. Anyone else?
Oh, you knew I could speak. Rhonda Dowdna, 462 Posa Lane. I wrote y'all letters. I've told you how I feel at the last meeting. This is no different than TriStar, folks. It is not. It's the same situation. We don't need more cars. And what I'm getting from them, they're going to, you know, 2,200 square foot to 2,700 square foot, 3-car garage. I understood it was not 2-story. So that means mainly cement, less yard. That's not what Tontitown's about. That's not, and we don't have to provide for everybody. We got the apartments, we've got some smaller homes. We're there, but this one area, we just can't keep piling it on and thinking this is going to come out good, because it's not. You may not be sitting in those seats, but somebody is one day when they go, oh, who was thinking this up? So if you pass this, TriStar sues us, guess what we're going to have all the way up to Clinton Road? R4s, because they're going to win. Because you're picking and choosing who you decide to do this with. Same problems with TriStar that we have here. I can't stress it enough. Let's slow the roll. You know, I've agreed to their development in front of me. I can get along with anyone if the reasoning is right. But this is not good for our city. They don't live here. They leave and we're left with the mess. So please don't pass this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dowdna. Anyone else?
Kim Carney, 685 Tuscan Sun Lane.
Pull it down.
The same as everybody. There's been a large amount of development in a very short time, and we're not even sure what all of the negative consequences are going to be from what we already have planned. It just takes a little time to figure out what's going to happen next. And we just would like to at least ask that they stay within the confines of what they bought the property at, which was our. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Your name and
Richard Easley, 643 Tuscan Son. We hate to see this passed. The traffic and stuff, and if the other one didn't pass, why this one, are we opening ourselves up for a lawsuit against the city? But we would appreciate if you don't pass it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
In line. Tammy Graham, 1984 South Penalty Road. Malcolm Ford said, "You can easily judge the character of a man or woman," he didn't say that, I'm adding it, "by how he treats those who can do nothing for him." Those of us petitioning you to vote no for this rezoning can do nothing for you, really, or very little. And if you seek gain or favor, we don't have just a whole lot to offer. Neither can we wield such power that you might stand in some way to regret your decision. And by now our faces should be familiar to you. We are the ones who show up in times of need, generally pleading with you to do something or to not do something. Did you see our faces at the meetings contesting the landfill? Did you hear our voices? We show up for each other, and we show up when there is no promise of any gain. As you look at our faces, you are looking at the essence of this town. The remaining voices of the community who care enough to show up. We are not elected officials here to represent any one special interest. When you have that, you have a lobbyist. And most of us certainly don't have deep pockets. So please act on our behalf. We are the ones being flooded out. We are the ones being overwhelmed by traffic, and our community is sacred, and we ask you to protect it. Individually, we can do very little for you. The question is, how are you going to treat us? Well, please vote no. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Graham. Anyone else?
Gary Carney, 685 Tuscan Sun Lane. I think I've been here plenty of times before. I don't want to see R4 as well because of the traffic and all the previous reasons that have been stated. Haven't really seen anybody come forward other than builders or lawyers wanting R4. Don't really want R3, but I'd like to see y'all vote it down.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
Michelle Eichler, 1851 South Penalto Road. I'm requesting that you deny this request to go to R4. We had, talked about it, and we were going to put it as dormant. And so if it's truly dormant, then we request that it stay that way. Of course, I have concerns that, there has still not been issues presented to us as far as, the infrastructure that is there right now, as far as like the stormwater, things like that, presented to the public. I think we need to get that information out here, know what we're dealing with before we approve something that's going to increase the density in a certain area. My concern is too, this, developers coming in wanting this. It is, of course, to recoup, cost of the purchase of property. But again, they knew this, they knew the cost that they paid. And that's evident in the deeds that were presented. I mean, the same day we get it for 1.8 and turn around and sell it later that same day for 2.5. So they knew what they were paying, they knew what they were getting. So I request that you deny this and leave it as the R3.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Barbara Dean, 1295 South Barrington Road. And I have been coming up to speed very quickly on this topic because just in the 3 years, I'm not native. I've only lived in NWA for 8 years, but I have watched the growth from the front porch of 1295 South Barrington Road for 3 years. The amount of traffic is amazing. Just the noise and what we're thinking about doing to just, protect ourselves from the noise. But the stormwater drain off is a big issue. I mean, the traffic has gone exponentially. And I have just lived enough places around the United States to see that NWA is not investing in its infrastructure smartly before they're going after the growth. My sister lives in Austin. We're advertising, come here to NWA. Remember when you used to be able to visit the lakes and the hiking trails? Come here. And I want to go, wait a minute, we don't have, the health services, the roads, the drainage issues all figured out. And when I read about this issue, I just thought that it was important for my husband and I to come tonight and say that we hope you vote that down and that you are very purposeful in the growth for this wonderful little piece of Northwest Arkansas.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else? Is there anyone online? Yes, Mr.
No, ma'am.
Levitt. Mr. Levitt, go ahead.
Kenneth Levitt, 18702 Clearwater Road. Y'all as a council have already said, no R4. Y'all have reached out and made that decision already. I know this has come before, but we're not ready for it and we don't need it. The people that bought there, the planning committee had already set up the classes, so they expected it to be class 3 to match with theirs. Should continue to be.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Nina Brown, 1851 South Penalto. I'm thinking about the future. Barrington Road is crazy now. We've got our new fire department right out here. We've got the PAM parking lot expanding, this trucking school. We have traffic that backs up down to this point now. Please, please, please think about what we're doing to our little town. We're clustering everything up so much. We need to spread out, slow down. Please keep our health, safety, the drainage issue, our infrastructure. We're not keeping up with our growth. We're thinking about this almighty dollar. And we've got to think about those. But our little roads that were existing still need help. There's lots of little problems that we have. Matter of fact, even Bandini, I believe we had a resolution so we could do the fire department because it's not really where it needs to be. We need to think about these big fire trucks trying to move around in our little town. The streets are small. Just want to reinforce that. I totally oppose this R4. I think that's too much for this growth, too much growth for this area, this little town. We need to back off, take care of the problems we have, do a little more problem solving. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Seeing none. Last minute comments from Alderman. Yes, sir, you have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. I'll
Yes,
keep
sir.
it short. Good evening, council members. My name is Will Kellstrom. I met you all last 2 weeks ago when we were talking about this at committee. So I want to start off by saying last time I was in front of you, I listed a few reasons why I felt like the planning commission erred in their decision. And I want to clarify that I did that to meet the requirements of an appeal under the statute. It was not to say that I felt the planning commission are uneducated, that they're not good at their job. I also want to point out and apologize for misstating the population of Tontitown. After checking my facts and being fact checked by Ms. Russell, I see now there are almost 7,000 people here as of 2022. I hope y'all will allow me to chalk that up to being a little bit nervous up here on stage after talking to Mr. Burris. So I'm not a local. That's y'all are right about that. You got me pegged. However, the same cannot be said for my client. North Rock Builders has built, I believe, 89 homes in Tontitown over the last 5 years. All of these homes have been big, nice, large homes like we're wanting to build in this development. These are homes in South Point, Liberty Estates, and Napa Estates. My client is invested in Tontitown. He enjoys investing in Tontitown and wants to keep investing in Tontitown. I think it was brought up at the last meeting that my client wants to put his office on the C2 portion of this property. Point being, I might be an outsider. My client most certainly is not. I sent an email to y'all comparing this development to Westbrook, which is the subdivision across the street from Barrington. In that email, I pointed out that many of the lots in Westbrook are that's a little small. Many of the lots in Westbrook are 8 by 80 by 130 with a few deviations. A good number of our lots proposed to be 70 by 120. The smallest are 73 by 110. The largest are as deep as 210. So overall, the lot size is pretty close to the one next door. I also want to point out that Westbrook is 41.16 acres and contains 116 units. That's 2.81 units an acre. Our development, the residential portion, is 37.59 acres with 112 units. That amounts to 2.98 units per acre. We're asking for a density increase of less than 2 units an acre. So we have offered up a bill of assurance. The bill of assurance guarantees that we will build no more than 112 homes. It guarantees that those homes will be 2,200 square feet. It guarantees there will be no duplexes, and it guarantees that they will be 60% stone on the front. That's enforceable. That runs with the land. It goes to any other buyers. It's locked in. That's in the zoning. It's a part of the zoning. So we're not asking for R4. What we're asking for is a modified version. So I'll wrap it up quick.
Go ahead.
We are asking for 9 more units an acre than what would be allowed under R3. We're going to be required to build Fletcher.
No.
Overall.
Overall.
9 more overall. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm not sure what I said. But in any event, please review the bill of assurance and look at what we're asking. It's very, very similar to what would be allowed under R3. Thank you for letting me go over 3 minutes.
No, do you need any?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. All right. Before I get comments from Alderman, I did want to state that I have received multiple emails concerning this issue. And these 3 came today. I've given them all to each of the council for them to be able to read. And just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention. Any councilman have a comment?
I have a comment.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, I am for healthy growth. But you know, I lived right there on the corner of Barrington while we were building for 2 years. And, you know, just in thinking about this, I also want to say that I received a lot of emails. I read all of those. I appreciate those. The traffic, you know, it really is terrible. And, you know, until we get the stoplight and the widening there at Barrington and 112 or 412, excuse me, and until we get a light down there at Clint's, whenever that's going to be, just traffic is a nightmare. And to add, just in thinking this through, and to add another 112 homes right there that'll be coming off of our already backed up road, you know, it doesn't make sense right now. The traffic is terrible. I would watch it day in and day out. Sometimes I couldn't even pull out from Washington onto Barrington. And then when school's in session, that's a whole other ball game. But anyway, those are just my 2 cents. You know, I'm not, you know, we have made the R4 dormant, but even just developing that area right now, wow, what a nightmare that would be for our traffic. I want Fletcher to get built. I want that to be a #1 priority, but anyway, not at the expense of creating more chaotic traffic right there on Barrington. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Ibarra. Is there anyone else that has a comment? Yes, Mr. Washkowiak.
Yes, I just wanted to clear up. I think there's been some misinformation disseminated about the city being able to mandate or require bill of assurance. I wrote Mr. Eichmann the other day an email. I'd like to read my question to him and his response. Justin, could you please provide some clarity on the issues of bills of assurance? It's my understanding that these cannot be mandated by city council, planning commission, or the mayor. Am I wrong, or can these be incorporated into city code? His answer, Mike, you are correct that bills of assurance must be offered voluntarily by the applicant and cannot be required. A bill of assurance is more akin to a separate contract or restrictive covenant that is offered by the applicant voluntarily to impose property use and development rules specific to the property described in the bill of assurance. The bill of assurance can be enforced by the city, but it has to be enforced in court just as a restrictive covenant or contract. The reason why it has to be voluntary is because the property use and development rules that are imposed go beyond the regulations. If the city required the bill of assurance, there could be a claim of taking under the Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution or the Arkansas Constitution. Obviously, we don't want to get involved in anything that would violate that. One lawsuit like that would bankrupt the city. We have heard the concerns, obviously, from all of you about rezoning to R4. We have voted unanimously to put that dormant, but the applicant deserves a fair opportunity to be heard and give his side, because his or her appeal came before that ordinance was enacted. We have to listen to him, and you know, our code allows for owners to ask for waivers. It specifically states under no circumstances should a waiver be granted because of a personal hardship or for personal or emotional reasons. Well, using that same logic, it should not be denied for those same reasons either. The fact of the matter is, they can put 103 houses here, no matter what we decide tonight. The increase, as is pointed out and is done by the plat that was presented, is 2.9 units per acre. It's not an R4. We're rezoning it to make a few accommodations for some of the lot sizes. It's not an R4. There's not going to be 4 houses per acre. We have the assurances in a bill of assurance, a legally binding contract enforceable through the court of law from the owner. So that's all I'll say, and let somebody else take the money.
Thank you. Anyone else? Council? Yes, sir.
It's my primary duty to listen to the will of the citizens and to vote in accordance with their wishes. And if I ever vote against the will of the people, I need to have a pretty strong personal moral opposition to an issue. Our citizens have repeatedly come out against R4. They did it tonight. They've done it before tonight, so much so that we have made R4 dormant for a time. The planning commission has decided to do that, and we have decided to do that. Moreover, we have had no citizen support for this specific development turning to R4, but we have had citizens speak out against it. As I mentioned, City Council 1 month ago made R4 dormant, and the Planning Commission overwhelmingly confirmed that decision. North Rock Builders knew this property was R3 when they purchased the land, so this issue has not caught them unawares. Some folks have been impressed by the bill of assurance that will accompany approval, but this bill of assurance wasn't their idea. I would hope the neighborhood would have a bill of assurance, even if it remains an R3 as per the current zoning. Traffic is a major issue. Even one more house or one more car will make the current problem worse. North Rock wants to add 9 more houses to what they've already been approved for on the R3. I understand those extra 9 houses will make North Rock about another $1 million or so, right around there. And as a capitalist, I support that. However, I don't see the direct benefit for R4 at this time to the city of Tontitown, to the citizens of Tontitown. So I can't vote just to further the profits of North Rock, even if they are local businessmen. especially when the rezoning is against the will of the people. We recently opposed an appeal for an adjacent property, literally the property directly to the west of this property, saying yes to North Rock when we said no to Mr. Goodrice and TriStar makes it appear as if we show favoritism to some builders over others. The legal term for this is arbitrary and capricious. It could open us up to all manner of legal problems. And instead, we need to be equitable when interacting with our builders, especially when their properties are in such close proximity. More concrete brings more drainage issues. Our drainage issues, as we all know, have been a huge financial strain on the city over the past few years, and we certainly aren't currently equipped to manage more financial problems. Property taxes have been mentioned as a major plus for this project. I asked Mark Latham, our excellent and very experienced city planner, to provide some tax information. I know that the members here on this board have seen it, but I wanted to highlight some of what was mentioned in Mr. Latham's email. 80% of our tax bill, your tax bill, goes to public schools. Great. In our case, that's the Springdale public school system. The average 2,500 square foot house like North Rock wishes to build would yield the city approximately $430 a year. Wow, I just heard somebody say. Let me repeat that, $430 per year. That's about $1 per day per household. That's not enough money for one cup of coffee at Z-Mart. It's certainly not enough for a cup of coffee at 7 Brew, Amber.
Thanks, Tim.
You can't even buy a single donut at Love's for that little, and my family and I love their donuts. Not exactly a huge financial windfall for the city. For the average Tontitown household, that's less than 40 cents per person. And that doesn't take into account the wear and tear that we citizens have on our roads, our fire department, our police, our streets, our sewer, and other infrastructure. At this time, the city is open to agricultural areas. We're open to building 2 homes per acre. We're open to building 1 home per acre. We're open to building 3 homes to an acre as zoning allows, but we have set exactly one current restriction. We've requested to temporarily limit the 4 houses per acre, the R4, as the citizens have requested. So at this time, I'm a no.
Mr. Artemani?
I, over the course of time, when we had our meetings, I spoke against doing away with R4 because I said at some point in time, we're going to have to do it. And the reason for me at the time to say no to R4 was I was trying to prevent a particular home from coming in. That's really shouldn't be what I said, but it's honest. And if I get in trouble for it, I get in trouble. They are presenting homes. I know what kind of homes they build because they're right. I look in the back doors, some of them across from my house. So it's not like they're building crap, you know. So we're like, the city's like a dog chasing its tail. We need revenue, but we don't, you know, and we need infrastructure, but we don't want to do anything in order to bring more. And I understand that, you know, traffic, I see it every day too. But when we talk about traffic around here, traffic's bad for about an hour and a half in the morning, an hour and a half in the evening. And I get it. But then it goes away. And I defy anybody anywhere in Northwest Arkansas at those 2 times a day I'm talking about to go anywhere in Northwest Arkansas and avoid traffic. I defy you to. So it's not the traffic thing. And as Mike said, if they want to, they can build 102 homes there and there's not a thing in the world we can do about it. Same thing with TriStar. They can build X amount of them. I mean, I know Tuscan Sun doesn't want to see them. You know, people don't want to see them, but we can't prevent R3. And if they're going to build 9 more homes and the quality that they build, and we need Fletcher, that, you know, we continue to talk about Fletcher. They're going to do part of Fletcher. So, it's all expenses. So that's all I've got to say about it, but that's my thoughts.
Thank you, Mr. Westcott.
Go for it. And I'll follow. I just wanted to address one issue. The comparison of this to the previous R4 that was brought to us is apples and oranges. I had a multitude of reasons that I was not going to support that. And I will not state them here publicly. I don't know that it's a good idea, but I had plenty of ammunition that didn't even get addressed at the meeting. It didn't even get a motion. We were all vehemently opposed to that one, without a doubt. And there are plenty of ammunition to use and any kind of blowback that might come from that. So that's the point that I want to address on that.
All right, thank you. Mr. Montez?
I just want to thank everybody that reached out on this issue. If you came before us here, via phone call or email, I want to thank you for your input that I did get. But one of the things that I go back to when I think about this issue and why I even ran, and when I got the signatures of everybody that put me on the ballot, one of the big issues that came up through that campaigning was where we need more roads. We need to help the Highway 412 and in alleviating traffic. I see this as a way to help us get Fletcher going, but I also understand, we don't want to see R4 coming in on this tail end of the dormancy. But I've taken it all into consideration, and I know we can't please everybody, but we've got to do our duty up here, and that's what we're going to do tonight.
All right, thank you. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
I will second.
Roll call, please.
Mike,
Yes.
Tim,
No.
Larry,
Yes.
Amber,
No.
Daniel,
Yes.
Misty.
No.
It is dead.
Is that a 3-3?
Yes, sir. That is a 3-3.
Okay, so in that event, the mayor can can choose to vote, doesn't have to.
No, I
But-
choose not to vote.
And it's dead. I'll note that too.
All right, we'll move on to approval of an ordinance to amend section 11004 license requirement for each place of business. Mr. Burris.
Thank you, Mayor Russell. We've talked a lot about this. I believe that you're all very aware and you don't need to hear me talk more. Please notice in your packets, there is an exhibit. Mr. Clark, if you could please pull up the exhibit on our screens. Exhibit A is for the verbiage. Any person, partnership, corporation, or other entity operating and having a place of business within the corporate limits of the city shall obtain a license for each place of business. For the purpose of construing this chapter.
Ms. Ibarra, could you hit mute, please? We're hearing your conversation.
Sorry, I thought I was muted.
Thank you, ma'am.
You don't need to hear me read this. I'll sum up. Any person, any business operating and having a place of business needs a license. We're considering for the purpose of this, that more than one place of business means business operations conducted within 2 or more separate buildings or on 2 or more separate tracks. Any person, partnership, corporation that has a business out of their residence and which needs a license for some other purpose, perhaps for tax purposes or whatever. There are some of those on our books. They may request a home occupation permit, but it is no longer required. A home occupation permit would cost the same $50. All nonprofits need to have a business license. That's as recognized by the IRS. that application shall be $5. And every other applicant requiring a business license is required to provide proof of proper zoning, et cetera. And then lastly, each owner, partner, or member of the firm has to sign off on that application so that they are all jointly and severally responsible for the timely payment of that business license and the meeting of all business regulations. Any questions?
So basically, we just reworded it.
We did, and we specifically dropped out, if you look at the next page, all that red striked out verbiage, that's all gone. And we're just trying to make it a little more readable. If you have suggestions to make it more readable, I am open to that. But I would like you to consider making a motion to approve this tonight.
Okay, from what I understand, I have learned some additional information on this. Mr. Eichmann, would you care to elaborate on what this specifically means to have this in code?
Sure. I think primarily what it does is it makes the home occupation permit non-mandatory. And that's pretty much it. It removes that from being mandatory. If somebody needs one, they can request one. I understood from meeting with Leslie about it that she's had a number of folks who get home occupation permits who have to have one for one purpose or another, but it would not require one. The rest of the changes are for readability. Rather than try to list out all above under A, kind of, that the zoning restrictions, I think it's simpler just to say that it needs to comply with our zoning regulations, meaning that you can't conduct a business out of your house if it's going to have customers, storage of materials, signage, that type of thing. But essentially that's the change. Mayor, was that along the lines of what you wanted to talk about? I did also look, I pulled about 10 other cities around us, and I think I looked at also Jonesboro and Little Rock on their business permit regulation or their business license regulations. And the only one that I found out of that 10 that has a home occupation permit besides us is Fayetteville. I do think that if you make that non-mandatory, like what's provided here, that you would be, our regulations here would be pretty closely aligned with Springdale and some of the other surrounding cities.
Okay, Chief Ramsey, I'm sorry, could I ask you a question?
Yes.
Could you tell everyone what it is that you were concerned with about the home occupancy license?
Justin, I think you pretty much nailed it right. I mean, with this revision, I don't really have that many concerns at first. Just amending this altogether, I had some concerns about what type of homes could have what type of occupancy, but everybody's still bound by the fire code. I mean, that's state law. And I don't feel like anything that's been added, changed, or removed really supersedes anything that's done for the fire code and state law from what I read here.
Okay.
The only aspect with the business license is it helps us monitor if somebody should be operating their style of business out of their occupancy. But you pretty much said it right. When you have a bunch of people showing up to the house or you're storing a bunch of equipment, that's when we get worried. We get worried for life safety. What kind of equipment are we storing? Is it above the required amounts per fire code? Or, are you having church in your home, which, hey, I'm all about it. But if you're, you've got 100, 200 people in your house, that's only meant for an occupancy load of, 10, well, that could be a concern with your exits and everything. That would be the only concern that I'd have. But based on this verbiage, I don't really have any comment.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Do I have any comments from citizens on this? online? Okay, council?
Mayor.
Yes,
may-
sir.
May I ask Justin a few questions?
Yes, sir.
Justin, one of the things that we struck out, and I want to make sure that that it doesn't preclude some of the issues that we had before. What I don't want to do is I don't want to remove a mommy. I don't want to make a mommy who's trying to run a Tupperware business, right? Or some such thing, Pampered Chef, whatever. I don't want her to have to get a license. And one of the things that we have struck, and I don't think it's a concern. I want to make sure it's not a concern. One of the things that's been struck out is it says that basically those that don't need the license, right? And I want to make certain that we understand succinctly what that means. So are you saying that if I'm running a lemonade stand, not my kids, but me, at the bottom of my drive, people are coming to me, I don't need a business license for that? Or like Mike and myself and Danny, we're running a business from our home.
There are some exceptions. For example, a fruit stand has an exception, those type of things.
Perhaps a bad example. I know lemons are fruits. Yes.
But in our zoning ordinance, our zoning regulations, there are regulations for that have to do with home occupation. And many people now, of course, work from home. But as has been stated here, if you have customers, if you have those sort of indications of a business occurring, you're in violation of the zoning ordinance. And so that's what applies. For requiring somebody who's selling Tupperware out of their house and there's no indication that there's any business activity going on, they're in compliance with the zoning ordinance and they don't need a permit. And so that's essentially how that works. If they are running a hair business out of their house and the customer showing up every 30 minutes, then they would be in violation of the zoning ordinance.
According to the way that it's currently written, or with these changes?
Actually, with the way it's currently written now.
But these changes would allow somebody to have
all these
a
changes
barber chair
do,
delivery.
is before and after these changes, you have to follow the zoning regulations on any type of home occupancy of a business. So you can't have before and after these regulations, you can't have customers, you can't have signage, you can't have any of those things. All this does is this takes away the home occupation permit as being mandatory, because as it is right now, if you work from home in any capacity, the way it's written now, you need to get I think it's fairly clear from the language, you need to get a permit. And so this would just make that a voluntary thing if you need it.
Now, what about the employee issue? What if somebody's got 8 employees running out of their house?
You can't have an employee out here.
Okay.
Yeah.
What I was concerned with and what I was wanting Mark to make the example of, Chief Ramsey to make the example of, is if someone had fireworks in their house and they did not have to, he's coming back to the podium.
That would be a fire code issue at that point,
That would be,
depending on the amount of fireworks.
so what I was
They
going to
use
say
it
was if
for.
they have a whole closet full of fireworks and they are not mandatorily having to have a license, how are we going to know that those fireworks are in that closet? How are we going to protect the citizens? How are we going to make sure that people are doing what they're supposed to be doing?
Right, and from that aspect, it helps us kind of police that up a little bit, and make
Right.
sure everyone's.
So that was
accountable.
my concern. That was my concern.
And that would render us coming to the residents to make sure that they've met all the requirements for the code to have their business in there.
But if we take this away, we're not going to have any teeth to know that it's there, correct?
Could slip through the cracks.
Well, I don't want that to happen, and we've got until
Right.
June. So if we need to talk about it more, let's talk about it more. I'd rather do it right
Right.
than
Yes.
come back and say, oh, well, let's try to amend it. Another question for you, Mr. Eichmann. Somebody with no employees, they don't need a license, correct? Just like before, or how it's currently in the code?
If you're operating a business, then you need. Okay. if you have if you are operating a business that has business activity, then you have to be properly zoned and you're gonna have to have a license. If you are conducting business at your house with no business activity and no employees, you would not have to get a permit.
And define business activity, that's the coming and the going, right?
So, yeah, in other words, you have to be in compliance with the zoning regulations.
So why strike that then from the text? If that does help to clarify that.
I struck it because I was asked to try to make these things a little easier to
I know,
understand.
I'm the one who asked that. I think, yeah.
And I want to, where's somebody speaking? I want to, I thought it would be simpler just to point that you have to be in conformance with the zoning regulations. Now, I think the point here is well taken that, you know, it might not hurt to let this marinate a month and make sure that we're not missing something. And if that's the case, I would be kind of happy to continue to look at it to make sure that we're positive, because I know we want to get this right.
Sure.
I would actually appreciate probably a little more time to be able to make sure that we are right, since this has just been done over the last week or so.
Yeah, right, absolutely.
I'm sorry, is there any citizens that have any comments on this? I'm sorry that I forgot to ask that up front. Go ahead.
Well, then personally, I would like to make a motion to table it until Cal. I know that we have looked at this a little bit, but yeah, let's give Justin time to make sure that it gets right. Again, these business licenses don't come due again until June. It's just because June just happened, that's front of mind. And I certainly don't want to push it off till May, but if we could push it off till the Cal, that'd be great.
Do I have a second?
Absolutely. I'll second.
Roll call.
I was going to say, hearing the comments also helps because I'm hearing how you all are reading it. And so I'd like to kind of take that in and think about it.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Justin.
Thank you, Justin.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Piazza.
So I did a lot of research on this since this has been brought to us, Tim, and I definitely am not for it going away. So I'm glad to see it's still in there because there are businesses that truly need this license in order to function. And I would never want one of our citizens to not be able to do their job. But I do think more time is necessary.
And I have one question. You have no employees, but you've got half a dozen subcontractors that come and do something at your house or whatever. They're not my employee because I give them a 1099 or whatever. Is that?
Yes, that's another good point to look at. And I'll check that because obviously that would be business activity.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
Yes.
Roll call, please.
Mike,
Yes to table.
Tim,
Yes.
Larry.
Yes.
Amber,
Yes.
Daniel,
Yes.
Misty.
Yes.
Table to
Right.
next Cal.
Moving on to E.
Mayor, may I make a comment?
Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Clark, oh, thank you. I was just gonna say that our computers were all down, but they're not.
I've been texting him.
Okay, you're amazing. Thank you.
They did just come back on.
They literally just did.
Y'all saw me texting up here. I was texting Mr. Clark saying we see nothing.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, we'll move on to E. Approval of a resolution amending a section 5.2 holidays and holiday pay for the personal handbook. We went through this with the cow at the cow easily. We just want to add what the federal holidays are. And then adding it to our handbook. So do I have any comments from citizens? Alderman? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call.
Daniel,
Yes.
Larry.
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Misty.
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Amber,
Yes.
motion passes.
Okay, we'll go on to F, rezoning of 1145 Javello Road. This was tabled to August due to the applicant not providing legal description for the ordinance. So we will be going to the August city council meeting. So we'll move on to G, approval of an ordinance to rezone approximately 10.53 acres located at 516 West Henri Tonti. Justin, would you read that, please?
City of Tontitown, Washington County, Arkansas, an ordinance to rezone approximately 10.53 acres located at 516 Henri de Tonti Boulevard from single family residential R3 to general commercial C2 in the city of Tontitown, Arkansas.
Thank you. If I have a representative present, please go to the podium. Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Steve Lyle. I'm from Lyle Rutledge Attorneys in Springdale here for the landowner. It is poised as a rezoning, but most of the property is already C2. It's got R3 on the back, but in accordance with your land use development plan, the part that's R3 is planned to be commercial also. So it's consistent with the zoning that you have, that the planning commission and that the city has prepared for this property. We're trying to bring you what we think you want, which is a commercial property on the development on this property. Your planning staff and your consulting engineers were in favor of the project, and your planning commission voted unanimously in favor of it. The next item on the agenda is related, but I'll save my time for that unless you want me to roll right into the conditional use permit. I'll go ahead and do that then, because really the rezoning the conditional use permit is dependent on the rezoning. The plan for this property, as I was driving in, I think a good visual of what we're looking at on elevations, the landowner's already jumped ahead and has hired architects and has been working with landscape plans and all the things you normally do in a large scale development. We've already started some of those things. I think if you look at where the Jose's is, and the Iron Hand Liquor, that's kind of what you're going to see in the front of, when you see this property from 412, that's what you're going to see, is something along those lines. It's 26,000 square feet of retail. And we can do that now. We don't even need the rezoning to do that now. The reason we're doing the rezoning is because they want to tuck behind that, because it's a long, narrow 10-acre piece of property, and the 26,000 square feet of retail doesn't require that. They're going to tuck behind that front facing. There's going to be an ancillary warehouse, which means it's going to be used. It's not a warehouse that's going to be rented out. It's going to be used by the owners of the property in support of their own retail operations, because they already rent a warehouse in Tontitown. And rather than rent while they're developing this, they would like to put a warehouse that you won't even see from the street. And that's the only reason we need the conditional use permit. So if you drive by it right now, which I've done, usually when I was going out to this property, I end up driving right past it. I have to remind myself it's to the east of the Venetian Inn. And right now it's a dilapidated house and volunteer trees and a fence row. And so that's not the best use of this property. Everybody knows it should be a commercial property. And that's really, we just need those two things to make it happen. And hopefully it'll be a wonderful development for the city. If you have any questions of me or any comments, I'll be happy to.
Thank you, sir. Let's go with let's do the first thing first. Okay. Do I have any comments from citizens? Any online? Alderman? And women?
I listened to this at the planning commission. I felt like y'all presented well, and I felt like it was well explained, and it would be nice to see some commercial continue to grow here in Tontitown. So I just want to say good job at the meeting. I think y'all did a great job.
Absolutely.
I'll echo what Misty said. I was at the planning board meeting. I have no questions. It was presented well, and I have no questions.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second?
I'll second.
Roll call?
Mike,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Larry.
Yes.
Amber,
Yes.
Daniel,
Yes.
Misty,
Yes.
approved.
Okay. We'll move on to I, approval of an ordinance.
Is that both G and H?
No.
Mayor? We need to do
We got to do the approval.
I apologize. We're going to do the conditional use. Dustin, would you read that?
Council approval of the conditional use permit that was stated by that commission. There are conditions of approval there, so the staff and this council can approve those conditions or talk with the applicant about.
Okay, thank you. Do I have any citizens' comments on this? We'll go ahead and Alderman,
motion to approve.
I'll second.
roll call?
Daniel,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Misty,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Amber,
Yes.
approved.
Thank you, Mr. Wow.
Thank you very much.
All right, we'll move on to I. Had to make sure with Larry it was right. Approve, thank you very much, by the way. Approval of an ordinance amending section 1099, a general penalty, Mr. Burris.
We talked about this at the cow. The idea behind this is just simply if any business in town has any sort of penalty for breaking the rules, just to increase what that amount is to the allowable by the state. So there's an exhibit A right behind it. You can see the change. If you look at section B, part 1, the city shall not inflict any fine or penalty by ordinance or otherwise to a greater sum than, used to be $500, now it's $1,000, for any one specified offense or violation of a bylaw or ordinance, or double that sum for each repetition of such offense or violation. And then the one below that goes from $250 a day to $500 a day. So it's just going up to what the state will allow. Also, the verbiage here would allow us to move with the state when and if the state does make those changes.
Thank you. Mr. Eichmann, did you want to read that or is that sufficient?
I need to read the ordinance, yeah.
Would you please?
Sure. An ordinance amending City of Tontitown, Washington County, Arkansas, and ordinance amending sections 10.99 general penalty, the Tontitown Municipal Code declaring an emergency for other purposes.
Okay, do I have any citizens comment on this? Or online? Alderman?
I guess my only question, don't we go out and just kind of cite people or tell them that they're doing something wrong first and then kind of a warning?
We had a whole meeting about that.
Okay.
Reviewing that whole process to make sure that we are handling all of those type of situations. Probably getting warning for any people in compliance. That's the goal. What this does, this just allows for the maximum fine for the traffic for the city.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Do I have a motion? Did you want to speak, Mr. Washco yet?
Oh, I just,
You're just gonna make a motion, right?
the imprisonment to enforce fine. I mean, I know it's probably got to be in there, but throwing people in jail who can't pay their fines seems kind of counterintuitive to getting them to be able to pay their fines. I mean,
It tracks the state language on that.
okay, that's, well, I figured it was in there, but
It doesn't mean that you do that. In some extraordinary cases, it does happen. But
Sure.
It's not the norm, and that's a whole other issue. I know you're probably aware of that continuing problem.
Right.
Because I think the justice system that adjudicates municipal violations is heavily financed on those fines, and that's a matrix that needs to be looked at going forward. But it's a little bit above our pay grade. Yeah,
definitely above mine. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Justin, or Mr. Eichmann. I'm sorry.
Do I have a motion?
I will make a motion.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Is this a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Mike,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Amber,
Yes.
Daniel,
Yes.
Misty.
Yes.
Motion to approve the emergency clause.
Does anyone need to take a 5-minute break? Yes, we'll do an emergency clause first. Yes, we do. Okay, we're gonna
Second. I think Larry motioned.
I made the motion.
roll call.
Mike,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Amber,
Yes.
Daniel,
Yes.
Misty.
Yes.
All right, we're gonna take a 5-minute break. Please be back here at 15 till. Let's move on to J, approval of an ordinance amending section 51.04 water service rates. Mr. Clark, would you mind?
If I can do it from back here.
Yes, sir. Hang on just a moment. I'm sorry. I missed a step. I need Justin to read it.
Oh,
Okay.
go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Eichmann.
Yes, City, Tontitown, Washington County, Arkansas, an ordinance to amend section 51.04 water service rates of the Tontitown Municipal Code, declaring an emergency for other purposes.
Now, Mr. Clark.
Okay. Get my microphone a little closer so you can hear me. So we talked about this at length at the Cal meeting. We kind of got off into impact fees, but this is what we're voting on tonight here is the tap fees that we talked about, the increase in cost of materials. Basically, we're trying to get these fees up where we're not losing money every time we do a tap.
Thank you. Ms. Artemani, I just wanted to let you know that Miss Ibarra had to leave. She's actually doing vacation Bible school and she had to leave. So she will not be voting for the next time. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that. Okay, go ahead.
Me?
Are you?
I'm done unless you have
done.
any questions.
Okay.
So I make a motion to adopt the water service rates.
Do we have to have?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Do-
Anybody out there got anything to say?
Do I have any citizen comments? Seeing none, do I have any alderman comments? Mr. Artemani made a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Roll call.
Daniel,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Misty,
Yes.
Mike.
Yes.
Thank you. We'll move on to K.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
Need a motion to adopt the emergency clause.
We need a motion to drop the emergency clause.
I'll second that motion.
Who motioned it?
Mr. Artemani. Yes, roll call.
Daniel,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Misty,
Yes.
Mike.
Yes.
You better not take any more breaks because I'm just losing it. Okay, we'll go on. Are we at K?
Okay.
Yes. Approval of a resolution authorizing the mayor to negotiate and execute a contract with TriStar Contractors for the South Penalto Sewer Line Extension. James, would you or a representative come and speak about? Yes, sir.
Yeah, good to see y'all again. I'm Chris Button, Senior Project Manager with Garver. Privilege of working with Tontitown for several years now. I'm planning several of these water wastewater projects. South Penalto has been on our list for a while, and it's eventually, it's kind of the first phase of it. We're extending it up to pick up some developments, but eventually it could extend further north to pick up more development up toward the southern boundary of the school. But essentially, we had open bids on July 12th, and given the market conditions, I'm very pleased to announce we had 5 bidders. The bids were very pretty wide range, not as tight as I would like to, but there's thousands of cubic yards of rock on this project, and I know some contractors had some concerns, but the low bid was received by TriStar Contractors, about $999,000, and our recommendation is to award the construction contract to TriStar Contractors. I'd be happy to entertain any questions y'all have.
Better try the mic with. Do I have any comments from citizens? Yes, ma'am.
It's kind of like a question, comment. Does this also then go into the, what we had agreed to do the share cost with the Barlochi already with Tri-State? Will this benefit them on the? Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions from or comments from
So
citizens?
I appreciate you mentioning that the bids were very disparate,
Right.
from just under $1 million to 2.6.
Yeah, huge. I've never seen such a wide disparity in bids before my entire 30 years. So
So here's my question. what if, when we get into this rock, something that Mr. Clark alluded to earlier that I wouldn't have thought was a problem, but what if when we get into this rock, they need to change what they charge us? Is that all on them?
It's all on them, we did some, because we knew conditions and that we're familiar with subsurface conditions in the area. We anticipated a lot of rock, specifically adjacent South Point subdivision. So we did several borings out there to accurately estimate the rock quantity. And we have accurately estimated that rock quantity in their bid. They bid based upon that. We're going to hold to that bid price. Their bid price was $45 per cubic yard.
And have they done anything like this before?
They've got an extensive resume. They do a lot of development work throughout Northwest Arkansas. They do a lot of utility relocations. They do a lot of airport work. Our folks at Garver have worked with them on airport projects and water projects. I've never worked with them on a water sewer project, but they're definitely qualified if you look at the qualification statement.
So they've done this for surrounding communities.
Yes, sir.
I understand that they may have been a big part of helping us out when we had and James may be able to better answer this, a water main.
Right.
One of the collapsed water lines, I think, west of town. I think TriStar came in and kind of helped, maybe not save the day is the right word, but helped us out quite a bit on that.
Yeah, they did help us out. We paid them for it, but they helped us out.
That's free.
Is there any other questions or comments from
I
Alderman?
think Tim actually hit everyone that I had questions about, so I'm good.
Anyone else?
Well, to James' point earlier where he said, we've got that bond money that we've got to use up by the end of 24. And, we don't want to do that until these projects get on the way and we see if we need that money for these projects, i.e. rock excavation. How do we hold them to that? But James' previous comment said that we need to hold on to the bond money just in case we run into something where these bids.
So essentially, we've got two projects that we're talking about tonight that are wastewater. That cover the sewer bond. We strictly only use it for sewer bonds, but if you add this project up and the one that I'm about to talk about, we still have an excess amount of how much, James? About 700,000. But I don't have any concerns about overrunning. We've accurately estimated the rock quantity, and we're going to hold the contractor to that price. But we do have some excess money that we do have to spend by that date that you mentioned.
Yeah.
We're currently having some discussions on how to best spend that money, but then we could talk about that at our workshop on Thursday.
Yeah, it just it baffles me to see that number, $45 per unit on the bid for TriStar, and next to them that PrivCon 50 cents per unit. I mean, it sounds like they were just fidgeting with the numbers to get it into.
So if somebody definitely has an unbalanced bid, like a nickel per cubic yard, they're weighting their prices in the pipe, or they're hiding somewhere else. And it's what I would consider an unbalanced bid, and the owner reserves the right to disqualify them or seek some clarification on their bid to hold them to that price and get that in writing.
Yeah.
But the $45 is a little bit low compared to normal.
Sure.
But if you look at their pipe prices, they've hidden some money in there, which contractors do that all the time, but at $45 a cubic yard, it's not unbalanced, in my opinion.
Okay.
Anyone else? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call?
Mike,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Daniel,
Yeah.
Misty.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, we'll move on to L, approval of a resolution authorizing the mayor to negotiate and execute contract with TriStar Contractors for Clink Road, sewer line extension. James, or would you mind?
Chris, yes.
I know it's Chris. I was wanting your last name.
Chris Button.
Button, Mr. Button.
Yes. Similar, we got happy to get 5 bids. These bids were a lot tighter. Coincidentally, TriStar is a low bid. They do have a vested interest in this project because the Clint sewer line project is providing service to the Bariloche subdivision, but James could talk about it more, but essentially we have a master plan for future development to the south to actually pump up into this line. So we've upsized this line to maximize existing infrastructure, which downstream is a 12-inch line. So essentially, the city's worked out a deal with TriStar to upsize the line from 8 to 12-inch through the subdivision. James, you want to add anything to that?
Just that was the, I forget now if Danny or who brought it up, but that was the contract we had with them. That extra 40, I believe it was $45,000 to upsize it through their subdivision that y'all approved a few meetings ago.
And that's a great deal. Strictly, James, that was just material cost. It doesn't cost you more to install it.
That's correct.
12, so that's anytime the city can partner with the developer and cost share, that's the most economical way for the city to, expand its infrastructure. So.
All right. Do I have any comments from citizens? Alderman?
I may be missing something, but I thought you said an executed contract with TriStar, and this says with Brothers Construction.
Yeah, so Brothers Construction was a high bid, and I should have put a footnote, but the reason that is highlighted is because they didn't do their math right. They were off about $300 on the summation of all their items above, so it's just highlighted because their base bid was incorrect by a few $100s.
I'm just talking about the wording at the top of the resolution. I mean, did you not read it to say that we're entering into a contract with TriStar?
Yes.
It should be TriStar.
It says Brothers Construction.
Previous version of first, likely the newer version of that resolution.
Mine says TriStar.
There.
I got my packet early. I apologize.
Yes, I was gonna say.
Well, your diligence, getting there early, you gotta, it was put in there as Brothers at first, that was highlighted.
Okay.
And let's say contacted us and said, no, it's TriStar, so we corrected the resolution. I can read mine.
I think I've got the packet.
Yeah.
I've got it. I've got it. Sorry about that.
I apologize, Mr.
I
Rush.
just
Go ahead.
I had my packet that I picked up Friday and. didn't
Yes,
see it.
there was so much going on. There was several changes. I apologize for that. Alderman, have any questions or Alderwoman? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
I will second.
Roll call, please.
Daniel,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Misty,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
motion passes.
All right, we'll move on to M, approval of a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with Duncan and Associates. This is what we had talked about a little bit at the Cal meeting where we are wanting to do the roads, the impact fees for the roads.
Yes, to make a long story short, we had originally talked with Garber about this. The ball kind of got dropped there on that end, unfortunately, but this allowed us to contract directly with Duncan for the street impact fees. And then last week, I'm not sure who, the mayor and maybe Mark or Corey added the extra part for the police and fire or public safety input impact fees. So this is a contract with Duncan to include police, fire, and streets.
Okay, so after what someone up here on council had mentioned police and fire, and also Chief Jennison and Chief Ramsey spoke with Mark Latham afterwards, and they said, can we just go ahead and get it done now? Go ahead and start the survey or the what is
Plan.
it? Yes, to go ahead and add the police and fire as well. So that's what this is. Do I have any comments from citizens? Comments from Alderman?
I just want to say thank you for being proactive, guys. I think it's a great idea that we're trying to bolt these together. I think that was the smart way to go for us. So thank you for being proactive on that.
I guess my biggest problem, I don't know, it's a problem. We just got this at 4:15 this afternoon. We got into the discussion a little bit about the impact fees. Didn't really flesh it out thoroughly, I don't think. So this contract is for this independent contractor to do as, I guess, kind of a site study, for lack of a better word, to determine what we can recoup from development in impact fees and how that money is to be dispersed
It would be just like
to the city.
it would be just like the one that we went through with the water for the impact fees, and they would just do the study for us. Mr. Clark, would you like to elaborate on that, please?
Yes, I think last month, or maybe it was a month before, I provided you with a copy of the Duncan water and wastewater impact study. And that will be coming to you next month, but this is a contract to do the other three, police, fire, and streets.
Mike, I can address a little bit of that too.
Yes, Justin.
In order for us to be allowed to do impact fees, and impact fees are aimed at growth, and it's infrastructure you have to put in because of growth. The law, you have to follow kind of this fairly strict process, and one step of that is you have to have a study. And the study it's pretty complicated stuff. It'll kind of makes your head spin a little bit when you get into it, but it has to look at kind of what you have as far as the infrastructure, the growth, and what the impact of the growth is going to have on that infrastructure going forward, what you will need to see what that burden is, and then kind of reduces that to a fee that can be attributable to that growth. So it's not a tax, it's actually a fee, and you have to have that study. And so it's kind of certainly a specialty service, and especially with streets and fire and police are kind of out there. Water sewer is a little more straightforward. There are other communities up here who have who have streets and fire and police impact fees. But it's that study component that's required by statute that this is seeking to have.
I'm okay with the concept. I think it's the right thing to do. I think it makes sense. What I'm not okay with is that we got it at 4:15. And I have a sort of a personal rule that if I don't have time to look at it, meaning I didn't get it in time, I have to table it. And if I have to vote on it, I'll have to vote no, even though I like the idea. So with that said, I would like to make a motion to table this to the Cal meeting.
Second.
Okay, roll call.
Is there time for any other questions?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Is there anyone else that has any questions?
So does this hold us up in any ways when we do table it? Well, what kind of impact is it that happens by tabling it?
It'll just, well, it will put us out another month in order to get impact fees. For whenever that may be down the line. We got to get the study done. And if we don't get the study done, then we can't get the impact fees. And I apologize for you getting it so late, but
I
that's
understand. I
what it
totally
is.
understand.
May I?
Absolutely.
I think we're 5 to 10 years behind on impact fees anyway. Are we doing ourselves real harm by delaying this another month, or is it more prudent? I mean, we're not talking fiscally about spending a ton of money, and the cost benefit, in my opinion, is pretty significant waiting. I mean, Justin, are you comfortable, Mr. Eichmann? I'm sorry. Are you comfortable with stating that this is a prudent thing for us to approve now? I mean, I don't know if you can even weigh in on something like that. It's just.
Yeah, I definitely don't feel comfortable weighing in on telling you, what you feel like the right decision is to make or not. I will say on impact fees, every month that goes by is a month you're not collecting them. And because there's a new development that comes in, and having implemented them in Cave Springs and Washita County Grove, it's significant. It becomes very significant. So I think it's the right course that you all are going down, because every discussion that we're having at this table for the last couple of years is all about impact, growth impact, and what are we going to do? So I think it's directly aligned with the concerns that have been raised by everybody at this table and the direction we want to go in. You know, but I completely understand and I think it's prudent for any council member to want to be, you know, make sure they're fully apprised and comfortable in the vote. This is the same consultant that worked for on the water sewer. It's an expansion of that service from that utility to other infrastructure.
And I wouldn't do this, but I would like to, just to clear the air and let you guys know this. The fire and police were put on here. Yes, I could have done that myself. It was only $11,000. So I still have, I'm able to do that without getting council's approval. But because we were going to do the whole thing, I wanted to include it in here and explain it to everybody.
Yeah, I completely understand it, and I've been banging the drum harder than anybody on this council for impact fees. But it is a principle of the matter to me, and we need to get things in a timely manner in order for us to be able to look at it appropriately. So love the idea of impact fees. I'm very likely going to say yes to it a month from now, but as of right now, again, I'd like to table.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Okay, this motion to table. Daniel,
Yes.
Larry,
No.
Tim,
Yes.
Misty,
No,
Mike.
No,
I need 4. Mayor,
American form of quorum.
is that correct?
To table it.
To table it. Can the mayor vote?
To only
Since we-
to form a quorum
Vote was 3
means
3-2. You can vote on the motion to table if you want to. Okay, so if you choose not to
I
vote,
choose not to vote.
then the motion.
You're not going to vote?
So now you can.
So I need another motion.
So
I make a motion to approve it.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Hang on. Okay. Daniel,
No.
Larry,
yes.
Tim,
Sadly, no.
Misty,
Yes,
Mike,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, comments from Alderman. We will start with Mr. Montez.
I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. Want to thank those for their, in the fire department where we've had the 240 hours, and we've got firefighter Cody Cooley and Landon Octay. Congratulations. I also want to thank James Clark for the update on the rubber mulch. I know my kids will definitely appreciate that. Thanks to our planning department and all the work you do back there. I'm excited to also see what our new members on the museum board do, Olivia Ward and Megan McAfee. Hope you do great things. To the citizens that came out tonight, I want to thank you for your words and your courage at coming up to the mic. I know sometimes it can be nerve wracking. I used to be the same way and sometimes get the same hesitancy. But thank you. You know, we're not all going to always agree on everything that comes before us, you know. But I think together we can all say that we're all doing what we think's best for this town that we live in. And on that, I just want to thank you once again for your outreach to me. And then lastly, you know, I'd encourage this agenda, you know, try to get things to us in a timely manner to where we have the, the conscience to vote on something, because I pretty much second everything Tim said. I don't appreciate it getting this so late and then having to vote on it, and in conscience, I have to vote no. So thank you.
Ms. Piazza?
So first I want to say welcome to Landon and Colton. Very exciting to have them on board. I also want to say thank you to the police and fire. You guys do an amazing job with training every month, and it just, if you stop learning, you stop growing. And so I just really admire how you guys are always going after training. I think that's very important and is for the safety of our town. So thank you for that. Next, I want to say congratulations to Megan and Olivia. They not only joined the board, but they're joining and doing roles that we desperately need, with Ethan moving on and then others looking to make a change on the board. So I greatly appreciate them stepping up, and really great things are coming their way. I want to say thank you to all the citizens that came out tonight and all the emails I received. Sometimes we hear nothing, we hear crickets, and sometimes we hear an outpour of things from the citizens. And when you want us to hear you, you make sure we hear you. So thank you. We appreciate your getting your voice out there. Next, the Grape Festival is just a couple of weeks away, August 1st through the 5th. This is the last week to get tickets from the girls around the businesses. We will be deciding a queen on Sunday. It's going to be I feel like it's going to be a record year. And also the spaghetti dinners, I get asked a lot. They're $15 for adults and $10 for children, and they're Thursday through Saturday of the festival. And it looks like armbands are $30 this year. So those are the two biggest questions we get all the time. So I thought I'd just put a public service announcement. The live music has been posted to the Facebook page today. So take a look. I'll be honest, I don't recognize any of them this year, but it's free. Bring your lawn chairs, have a good time. Lastly, September 16th, our family fun event in the park. We have the bocce tournament. We have the pickleball tournament. We have 150 cars and trucks coming, modern and antique, as well as 100 antique motorcycles with food trucks and merchandisers. So please come help us. We need some volunteers. I desperately need some people that know how to play pickleball to come help me with that tournament, so that it's just going to be really bad if I've got to do it. So please, somebody with some experience, step forward and help me out. We've got some exciting things planned, and we've already had so many sponsors. But lastly, the most exciting part is this is going to be our kickoff to Shop with a Cop this year with the Tontitown Police Department. And this is going to be our charity that we're going to be going towards, as well as the blessing box in the park. So if you know someone like to sponsor, please have them get with me or Rhonda down and we are going to be asking for donations. So I'm really excited to kick this off and get this started.
All right, Mr. Artemani.
Echo what has been stated so far. Congratulations to our two new firemen. I hope you taught them well. I think so. And congratulations to our museum board additions. As Daniel said, we don't always agree on everything, and I hope that nobody really takes great offense. I can say you got to vote your heart. And I do have one question though. Grape Festival, August 1st through the 5th. We meet on Tuesday, the 1st.
You make a very valid point, Larry.
That'll be fun.
I mean, I don't know that it
provided.
No.
Provided.
No, there's no
it will
spaghetti
not.
till Thursday. Thank you very
We get a
much. So
turkey leg.
I don't know if we want to, move our meeting or just go ahead and plan on having it. It makes no difference to me, but.
Well, that entire week's pretty much out of the question, quite frankly. So I'm good if we do it.
The following week.
Well, that puts us doing it back-to-back weeks, which doesn't matter to me. Or we just.
Monday before.
Right, what if we did July 31st?
Have it on the Grape Festival stage.
We could.
That would be entertaining.
Plenty of folks.
Yep.
We can't do that.
I don't know. Can we do that in the same month?
What was
We
that?
have a cow meeting in the same month
You can move it, yeah.
To the 31st.
to the July 31st. Okay.
It's the work session. You all are free to move
Okay.
that wherever you want to, or to not have one if that were the case too.
I'd like to make a motion to,
But at any rate, I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention. Like I say, it matters not if we have the meeting. Parking might be the only issue. I don't think we'll be overrun with people in here, but
Moving it to the Monday makes sense.
I agree.
I have no further statements.
Okay, we'll do that after we get all of the comments. Mr. Burris?
thank everybody for coming out. Really appreciate it. Really excited about the two new firefighters. Fantastic. Really excited about the two new museum board members. I'm excited about those of you that came out to talk. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Westcoiak.
I'm scheduled to be in Little Rock on the 31st for work, but if I have to, I'll make it by Zoom or whatever. This may take a little bit longer than I intended to, but I'll try to keep it brief. I grew up in Forest City, Arkansas. Their city council would be thrilled to be having a fight over whether we're going to put 103 or 112 homes into any subdivision. They probably haven't had 112 homes built in the last 10 years, period. This is not an easy decision. I had to wrestle with it for many weeks. I heard what the citizens had to say. I try to weigh the arguments for and against, and to me, the facts and the evidence seem to support granting the variance. Their proposal seemed to conform with the vision plan and the results of our survey that were submitted. Our survey results showed that 70% of the respondents wanted mid-level, single-family or high-end single-family homes. It was in conformance with that. I want people to know I'm not a special pleader for North Rock, its owner, its attorney. I was offered opportunities to meet with them privately outside of council or outside in private. I turned those down. I wanted to make my own decision. And I'm comfortable with the decision that I made. Traffic it's not going to improve whether we build one house or 112 houses. It's just not going to get any better. We're working on it. I know our planning department's working on it. We got a master street plan. It just takes time. Roads take time. You go anywhere that's experiencing growth and it's an issue, and it will continue to be an issue here for a long period of time. I pulled something off of a thing called neighborhoodscout.com about Tontitown. Tontitown is a very small city located in the state of Arkansas with a population of 5,633 people in just one neighborhood. I don't know where they got that. Tontitown is the 83rd largest community in Arkansas. Tontitown home prices are not only amongst the most expensive in Arkansas, but Tontitown real estate consistently ranks among the most expensive in America. But for setting a lifestyle says, because of many things, Tontitown is a great place for families with children to consider. First of all, many other families with children live here, making Tontitown a place where both parents and children are more likely to develop social ties with other families, as well as find family-oriented services and community. The city's good public school district, large population of college-educated adults provide an environment conducive to academic values. With regard to real estate, Tontitown has a high rate of owner-occupied single-family homes, which tend to reflect stability in the local community. I would concur with all these statements. It's why people want to come here. It's why people want to develop here. It's why we are all happy being here. It's a good place to be. The troubling part of that is the part where it's extremely expensive to live here. I came and spoke to the planning department about the issues of the bill of assurance and other things. When I came to talk with them, I also spoke with a city employee. The city employee said, I can't afford to live in Tontitown. I want to live in Tontitown, but I can't afford to live here. It's too expensive to live here. This wouldn't have fixed the problem for that person. It wouldn't have. I understand that. But I also heard these same concerns when we were doing budget meetings in the winter from our officers, our fire department, and other public works employees. They want to live here. They can. It's too expensive. So I understand we don't want high density. I understand that a lot of us moved out here for the land, the openness. That time's passing us by. It just is. This area is growing faster than any other place in Arkansas, probably as fast as many other places in surrounding states. You know, it's an issue that we're going to have to address whether we like it or not. I mean, I'm not in favor of multi-story high-rise developments. That's not what I'm arguing for. So, you know, it kind of concerns me a little bit that we may be slamming the door on those people. But, you know, it may be something we're not going to be able to solve in the next few years either. It's certainly going to be an issue that generations down the road are going to have to address, because there will be 1 million people here in this region, if they're not already, maybe 2 in the next 10, 15, 20 years. We're going to continue to grow. It's inevitable. It's just going to happen. Thanks everybody for coming. I hope that you understand my points. We'll respectfully agree to disagree on some issues. We'll find a common ground on a lot of other things. Appreciate everybody's input and coming out here. Thank you.
Okay, comments from mayor. That'd be me. Thank you. I just want to thank everybody so much for coming out tonight and supporting the city. It's very, very important that we do hear your voice. And I think that we are all, every single one of us up here, this is a hard job. It really is. If you think that it's scary to get up there and talk at the podium, you should be trying to stand up here or sit up here. But I just want to thank everybody so much. I appreciate you. I appreciate hearing you guys. And please let me know whenever you have your baby, Miss Burris. Mrs. Burris. Thursday. All right. Also wanted to say a belated happy birthday to Mr. Armani. Yes, and also Mr. Penalto's birthday's this week. So everybody give him a happy birthday call or email or text. All right, Mr. Eichmann, do you have anything that you would like to say?
Happy birthday, Larry. That's it.
Did you hear, Mr. Eichmann?
Happy birthday.
Well, thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
How old are you, Larry?
Okay, all adjourned.
Was there a fire department presence when he blew out his candles? Just curious.
He's got to get a burn permit for that, I think. Need to apply for that burn permit.